Right, Nasal, I want to talk about the law, but the law in the UK, because we've got a political party here, they're the Lib Dems, and they've got a pledge in their manifesto for the general election, which is on the 4th of July. And what it says is they want to remove the veto, the spousal veto. Now, what that means is, at the moment, if somebody is married, they change sex, they have to notify their spouse, and then their spouse gets the option to null and void the marriage, right? Because the marriage is a contract, it's a legal contract. They want to remove that so that you don't need to inform your spouse, and your spouse has no right whatsoever to say, yeah, do you know what? I married you as a man or a woman, and now you're changing sex by law. Do you know what I mean? This marriage doesn't work for me anymore. What do you make of that?
Two things. So one, this is why it is really important to ensure that in law, sex is only ever biological sex, that there's no concept of legal sex, which legal sex is just gender ideology if it's not biological sex. So it's super important to have the sex in law just be biological sex, and then they actually can't even do that. So it takes it off the table completely. But second of all, I don't know if you know much about trans widows, but these are women whose husbands have declared that they are a woman. And also, because we know no one changes sex, so they're just making this delusional declaration. And so they call themselves trans widows. And this is because of, sort of a take on like the dead naming and this sort of the trans terminology, sort of the playing with that. And trans widows are actually one of the most forgotten about and ignored demographic of victims in this whole mess. They're traumatized. They've usually been abused emotionally, mentally, financially, sexually, physically, a number of different things by these men who have taken them on an absolute ride for declaring that they're women. A lot of these men also just sort of start to emulate their wives. It's incredibly creepy. So the fact that they would trap women in marriages with these men, that's domestic violence. That's state-sanctioned domestic violence. And I think that in this quest, apparently, to have rights for everyone, they are literally taking away rights from women. Completely. They're just obliterating women's rights. Like, this is not, gender ideology is not a human rights issue. It is, for the most part, a depraved men's rights movement. And the victims of it are women and children. But I think all of society, because I think that men are also the victims of it if they also can't say that's a man. It is a